All right, welcome everyone. For those who don't know me, who we haven't had the pleasure of meeting yet, I'm Dr. Allison, and I run the Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation here at UMES. What we do is we help entrepreneurs start and grow their businesses. So you're in the right place because you're doing pop ups tomorrow. You are already starting or growing your business. And so for some of you who've never actually done a pop up yet, um, this will be some good information. And even for those of you who have done many, sometimes you need a little like, oh, I haven't thought about that, right? So, just as a little bit of background, I have done many pop ups with my company. We've been in business for 6 years now. We do a lot with Run Disney. We've tried a bunch of other areas. And for some of them, I just said, I'm not going to do any other besides Run Disney right now. So, we're going to talk about a bunch of things today. Some of them will be applicable for you just tomorrow. Some of it would be applicable if you decide to continue this line of work in selling your products. So, we're here for Pop Up One on One. Here, we are here to help you build a business to soar above and beyond. When you're done here, nothing here is required. When you're done at the university, we'd love you to have a thriving business and you can continue to come back and we'll help you continue to grow that business. So today we're going to talk about how do you prepare for a pop-up, creating an attractive booth, how to engage with customers, how to price, how you're going to take payment, because those are important things right there. You want to make some money. How do you manage your inventory, and then how do you evaluate and reflect afterwards? All right, so when you're preparing for a pop-up, you have to make sure, number one, it's the appropriate pop-up for you. Okay, tomorrow, I know you're all involved because of the university. However, sometimes you might get an opportunity. You need to decide, even if it's a free opportunity, whether it's really appropriate, whether you have the right audience there for your products. So if you don't, I've been to a few where I sold $50. Thank goodness it was a free opportunity. But that cost my time, that cost my inventory, that cost my setup. Meanwhile, I can go and, like I said, I only do the Disney ones right now because I can go and make much, much more than that. So you have to make sure the pop-up is appropriate for your audience. And sometimes you have to tailor what you're doing to the audience you're going to have. So tomorrow, we're here at the university. Who's going to be your audience? Students, okay? If you don't have a business that appeals to students, tomorrow you may want to be there for practice. You may want to set realistic goals. So that goes on to setting clear goals and objectives. I can go to an expo and say, oh, I really hope I make $20,000 this expo. I did that once. I said, oh, I want to go and that's my goal. I would love to sell $20,000. But when I totaled up the inventory I was bringing, I only had like $10,000. How am I going to make 20,000 if I only bring 10,000? So you need to make sure you're setting appropriate and realistic goals. Make sure you have appropriate permits, licenses, and insurance. Not so much for here, but if, let's say, I had the example of a young lady who puts lashes on people. Okay, I want to say installs lashes, but applies lashes. That's what it is. And she said, well, that's all I do. And I said, okay, let's say you use too much glue and you accidentally glued their eye shut. Okay, that could be permanent, right? I mean, we've seen like the girl who put the Gorilla Glue and it took like medical procedures. So if she accidentally glues somebody's eye shut, who does she sue? So that's the important thing of, okay, if you have insurance, at least then it can cover you and you're not then personally liable. So there's a lot of things. So we make bath bombs in my company, and some of them look like food. Thank goodness all my bath bombs are food grade because I've had itty bitty ones see them on the shelf, run up, grab it, and before the parent can do anything, they put it in their mouth. Now, luckily, it's just like, that's it. But it could be dangerous if I didn't have food grade ingredients. Okay, so that's why you want to make sure that you're covering all of these scenarios that you think there's no way it can happen. Guess what? It can happen. Okay. Okay. And so for those of you, by the way, who are making skincare products or things like that, you do have to worry about making sure you're using distilled water so bacteria doesn't grow because bacteria could really affect the skin. So I know that's a business some people have in here. All right, the next thing you need to do is know your space and plan appropriately. So I think here they're going to give you a table. But what does that look like for you? So this is where in advance you want to think about, what does my space look like? What I do before every single expo is I create a mock-up, a floor plan. I use Excel. It's the easiest way to get a whole bunch of boxes that are the same size, and I can over and over plan out my booth. So a standard size booth out in the world is usually a 10 by 10, 10 foot by 10 foot. That's 100 square feet, which sounds like it could be pretty big. But then you have to worry about putting all sorts of things into this space. So I will create different layouts with 10 by 10 blocks. And I'll play around and say, okay, this is my back inventory area. This is my wall. If I put a sales kiosk here, here, and here with a checkout table, that's one layout. They give us a long table. So I might say, okay, using that long table and play around with, where does that table go? Where do the kiosks go? Where does my inventory go? Sorry, I showed you that. And so I ended up going with this configuration for my very last expo until you get there and you find out your neighbor's doing something different. So this was that transformed into real life. So again, this is my backdrop. Behind there, I put my inventory, because for a lot of expos, you can't have your inventory seen. It has to be concealed somehow. So I'll put that back there. Then we have our kiosks, sales kiosk. So remember, I had 3 together and the table pushed over to my neighbor. Well, then when the neighbor arrived and her table is this tall, our barrier is only this tall, and my table was this tall, I was afraid nobody's going to see me. So I went, change of plans. Move that kiosk from here over here, and then move the table over. So now I'm nice and tall so people can see me. And yet I'm still kind of sticking with the same configuration. Okay? I'll let you know, spaces feel bigger on paper. When you get there, it's very small. This was probably the tightest we have ever been in an expo, and it did not work. And I'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. Okay, so you want to create an attractive booth display. Even here, you're going to have competition at other tables. You could have something of the same product type at another table. So you got to figure out how you're drawing the people to you. Now, the funny thing is, I put this picture up because it's not an eye-catching display. It's a kind of fuzzy picture. It's about 6 years old. That was my first Run Disney booth. And I made a lot of mistakes. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some of these things. So first of all, it should be eye-catching. My idea was hot pink. That does actually help draw the attention a little bit. You want signs, banners, and props. So I did have a big sign that had all my prices. Mistake number 1, I had this $300 sign printed with all my prices. What do you think's happened since that first expo? Exactly. Prices change. Things you offer change. So when you decide, hey, I'm going to pay $300 to make this gorgeous banner sign, and it's only good for one expo, that's a problem. Okay. So think about your signage and how can you keep updating it each time. The second mistake, let's see, product arrangement. So here's my second mistake. What I learned is, if you're ever doing an expo where they give you a 10 by 10 space, do not require people to walk in your booth to see your product. Because guess what? They're not going to walk in the booth to see your product. If you go to a place where there's a lot of vendors, sometimes it's overwhelming to the customer. There's people right at the edge going, come here, let me show you something. Come here, come see my products. I am not that kind of person. I don't do that to my customers. I tend to sit back and let them come to me. They're afraid to walk in because once they're in, they know I'm going to interact with them. So I was told that right after the first expo of, don't put your products in the back of the booth and make them walk in to get them. Instead, always on the front. Okay? They'll interact there and they come over when they're ready to check out. So I pulled my checkout back a little bit this past time. But for products itself, put it where people can see it right there. The other thing you want to do is, and as I think I'm going to get to, I will get to the pricing strategies, but you want people to see prices from a distance. You don't want them to have to ask, and you don't want them to have to get really close to see the price. Pricing and money for a lot of people is just awkward. I don't want to get up there and ask you how much your product is. You tell me $20, I only have 10 on me. Now I'm embarrassed that I don't have enough money to buy your product, even though I liked it. So make sure your prices are what are seen from a distance, that people know whether you are for them right off the bat. And then interactive elements or demonstrations. A lot of the machines, like the Theragun machines, they're there, like, come here, let me let you feel this. You know, you want to feel it, and then you go, oh yeah, that's nice. You know, I want to buy that. We're actually going to include something interactive in our very next booth, just because we haven't had anything yet. But doing samples or things they can try on. We also make a glitter lipstick, and that's what most people are like, oh, can I try it on? Right before COVID, we were doing sampling, and we would have like a disposable applicator. We'd give them that, and we'd give them some glitter. That was literally right before COVID, and we had just bunches of women around these mirrors. We don't want to do that anymore, so we're not sampling the products, but we've decided, wait, what if we have a permanent thing that they can hold up maybe on a stick and see what the lipstick looks like? That becomes interactive. We could do selfie stations. It brings it to the next level. So like I said, in the beginning, I put all of my products back there, kind of cluttered. I had a sign. Now we make sure all products are on the outside. Nobody has to interact with me to actually see the products. The other thing we now do, you can see these big signs that discuss the products or are just eye-catching. And even on the other side, where there's just a black shelf there, we put a sign on the other side so that somebody standing there sees what the products are and what they do. They don't even have to ask us what they do. They can read what the product does and then decide whether they want to interact. So you want to really open it up for a lot of people to say, okay, what do I want to do? We also try to put a video to stand there and watch, because what will happen a lot of times, people will be at another booth, and maybe it's a wife that's at the other booth, and the husband might turn around and see the video and watch the video and then say, hey, come see this. So try to think of how to keep bringing your products up higher and higher. If you're going to have somebody work with you, make sure everybody knows everything about every product. Okay. In the beginning, so this is my mom, my dad, and one of my employees. In the beginning, my dad would get somebody walking up to him and ask him about it. He'd say, hang on, babe, come over here and explain it. I'm like, no. We got to get you explaining these things, right? So unfortunately, my mom passed after this picture was taken. My dad still works the booth. Now, remember I said I have glitter lipstick? My dad can now tell you how to apply glitter lipstick. He can tell you how to remove the glitter lipstick. He can tell you how it stays on, you know, and things like that. So now even my dad will talk about glitter lipstick and sound like an expert. So you want everybody to be friendly and very knowledgeable about your products. If you can offer a sample, a discount, a promotion, sometimes that'll help you sell. Just watch you don't do over promotion, like buy one, get one free, and then all of a sudden you're not making money, okay? A promotion has to be very strategic to make sure you're doing it right. You do want to be able to initiate conversations. Sometimes for us that are used to texting and things like that, it's hard to just say to somebody that's passing by, hi, how are you? Let me know if you have any questions about the products. But you have to be able to initiate and engage those customers. And then sometimes it could be that you're just going to collect their info. There are a lot of expos where you see booths, they don't sell anything. They're there just to get marketing info. So they're going to get your name, your email, so they can send you future promotions. So you might want to have a way, no matter who walks up to your booth, to say, oh, maybe this isn't the right time for you, but can I get your name so we can keep you, informed on our updates. All right, so when it comes to pricing, I do it a couple of different ways. My pricing can fluctuate all the time depending on the expo where I am, but I wanted to make sure it is appropriate. So the first thing I do is I know my market, meaning my customers, and what they want and what they might be willing to pay for those products. I also look to my competition. So when it came time to make a body butter, and I went through my cost processing of I make the product, that's my manufacturing cost, I double it, that's my wholesale cost, I double it again, and that's my retail cost. When I get to that double and double again, it could be out of the realm of the competition. Okay, so I do bath salts. I'm never going to beat Dr. Teal's. Never. There is no way. I have tried looking every which way at the pricing. They have more buying power than I do. I might buy it by a pallet. They buy their salts by literally a train that pulls up full of salts. So I'll look to my competition and then figure out what sets me apart different. But then I have to make sure it's still, if I come to you and I say, here's a little pack of 6 ounces of bath salts, will you pay $25 for it? No, nobody's going to pay that, right? So you have to make sure that your pricing is within what your market wants and what your competition is currently offering. If you're at a booth or at a table tomorrow and you are selling the same product, I think somebody's doing sweets or desserts, right? You are? Okay. I think there's a couple of places doing sweets and desserts, if I looked at that list correctly. So what is setting you apart from your sweets and desserts? Number one. So your pricing could be it. How are you different than the competition that's trying to get those, sell their goods as well? Like I said, you want to clearly display the prices, any special offers. Okay, so here's what I want to ask for tomorrow. Payment options. How are you collecting money tomorrow? So are any of you doing where you're doing like a swipe or a credit card or anything like that? Is everybody cash only?
No.
Cash App.
Cash App.
Cash App? Okay. Cash App? Okay. Okay, good. Apple Pay. Zelle? Okay, good. All right, good.
Online payment.
Online payment?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So as long as you got all those ways, because I know I don't carry cash ever. So if all you're doing is cash, I would be in trouble. But if I can use my Apple Pay connected to my credit card, great. Sometimes with those, you probably won't have that here. We have to walk our customers through how to do that with Apple Pay. And so for you guys, it should be up for a lot of you, just phone to phone and be able to do it. Have you practiced that before? Have you done it? Okay. If you haven't done it, I'll give you a recommendation. Practice with somebody today. Make some fake payments. You can always refund that payment, but you want to make sure that your payment processing is working. There's nothing worse than somebody just standing there waiting and they want to go do other stuff. Okay, so make sure you have practice with your pricing. All right, make sure you have enough inventory. Make sure, for the baked goods, make sure, or desserts, make sure you have enough. I saw, what is yours with the beads? It's what?
Waist beads, anklets.
Okay, so you have the products already pre-made?
Yeah.
Okay.
Made them.
Perfect. So you want to make sure you have enough inventory for the duration of the show. Believe it or not, so I have been, tomorrow is just a very short time. I have been in shows where it's 3 or 4 days long. That's my norm. I've also been in shows where it's 12 days long. That was hard to figure out inventory for a 12-day show, and I messed up bad. I mean, really bad. In so much as 6 days in, I was out of inventory. And I signed a contract saying I would be there all 12 days set up to sell. So what do you do if you're in that situation? I still had 6 more days. I was required by this contract to sell. But I had no more inventory.
It takes some, like, if you sold out, you can tell them, like, right now you sold out.
Okay.
Okay, you can stay in the same place and tell them right now you sold out.
Mhm.
And like I do, I give them the paper.
Okay.
They write the name, the address, whatever.
Perfect. So you can take orders.
Yeah, or take an order and put on
So
the
as
side.
long as I have one of each item for them to see, I could be taking orders.
Yes.
That's a good one. What else could I do?
It depends. If you got somebody else too who helped you, your friend, he can go home, make more.
Make more?
Yeah.
We've done that as well.
Yeah.
So I used to have a shop in Florida as well that produced items. And after the first day, we went, oh my gosh, we're out of bath salts. We sold them all already. She would go back and make more for the next day.
Yeah.
So that's a possibility. Yeah.
All customers to your website.
Okay, so send them straight to the website. Okay. So I had one more scenario, which was make products in the booth on demand. And that's actually that's what we ended up doing for that expo. So we go, okay, it's bath bombs. not terribly difficult to create. We actually figured out a method overnight where we could do individuals. So you would come up and say, I want to buy this cupcake. We'd say what color, what scent. We'd actually put the ingredients in a baggie and have you shake it in the aisles. Okay, so you're shaking your bath bomb to mix it up. And people are looking now, right? Like, huh. And then we would stack it into a mold. And we happen to have an old-fashioned mold. And we had to take each one and go, bam, on the table to release it. Well, that also created like what was that? So we started cheering every time we would do it. It was like, 1, 2, 3, something like that. Okay, now people are like, oh, what is going on at this booth? Then we would put it into a container, a clear container, of course. And we had a little frosting and we had pre-made icings, right? So we put the little frosting and the icing they picked out that had some kind of adornment. And we close it up and we say, okay, but it's very fragile right now. It's going to take at least 2 hours to start to harden. So don't put it in a bag or anything. Just go ahead and carry it. So now they're walking around this expo carrying this gorgeous cupcake bath bomb. And now what's happening? Everybody's seeing it and going, oh, where did you get that? Send more people to the booth. So it ended up being a bad situation for us. Ended up making us a lot of money in the end. And it was fun. So if you find that you run out of inventory, you have a whole bunch of different examples of what could be done to counter that. For tomorrow, you may or may not have an inventory management system. Does anybody currently have, okay, so the products you're selling tomorrow, do you have a website with those products?
Yeah.
You do? You do? Okay. Does it keep inventory there?
Yeah.
No? Okay, so yes for you, no for you. So I use Shopify as my platform, and I do it for a reason. I can do online sales, and I also have the POS system, point of sale system. And it keeps the same inventory. So if I say I have 100 total, whatever I'm selling at the expo takes it off of my online, okay? As long as you keep up with it properly, you won't ever have an issue. One time, an expo, I had an opportunity arise I never expected, and we weren't ready. See, this is a lot of times after the fact, you're like, oh, wasn't ready. So we had an expo with the glitter lips, sold them like crazy. It was actually one of our first few expos where we were doing it. And I had a guy come up the day we were closing and say, hey, I wanted to get some lipsticks. And okay, you're trying to match a costume? He said, well, it's for my wife. I don't know what she's wearing. And I said, okay, well, it's going to be hard to match a color, but, what do you think she likes? And he says, well, here's the thing. She's the announcer at the race. I went, what? Yeah, she's the announcer at the race. They put her in a costume that morning, so we don't know what it's going to look like. And in my head, I went, she's going to be on stage in front of thousands, tens of thousands of my customers, my potential customers. So I said, you know what? Hang on. And I gave him every color we had. I said, no charge. Okay. And I knew because she was hired by Disney, she's not allowed to say the name of the company, right? But she looked gorgeous. She had the bright red on and everybody was noticing. And I wore mine that day too. And I ran into people in the corrals that also had the lipstick. Now the expo's closed. We're done for the season. And as I get up to where my start time is, there's a guy that's interviewing people in the crowd. And I said, hey, can you get a message to Carissa for me? I just want to thank her for wearing my lipstick. She looks amazing. And he said, oh, it's your company? I said, yeah. He says, I'll do you one better. And next thing you knew, the camera was boom in my face. And I am live on this big screen in front of tens of thousands of potential customers. And I said, oh my gosh, okay. So he's interviewing me and he's like, oh, your lipstick is gorgeous. And I said, thank you. I said, I see Carissa, she looks amazing with it. I own the company. And we're at the expo. And he says, oh, but the expo is closed till next year. Where can they get it in the meantime? And I'm looking at him thinking, I know she can't say the company name. Am I allowed to say the company name and give my website address? So I went for it. I said, oh, they can go to, and I gave my company name and the website name in front of everybody. Okay, now 3, 2, 1, time for me to start running, but all of these other people are still in the corral. Next thing you know, I take off on my race and I can feel my phone vibrating. It was sales for my lipstick from people standing in the corrals ordering it right then and there. Amazing opportunity. Never expected the opportunity, right? One problem. At the end of the expo or during the expo, I tend to give one away to like this person that's working this booth. And if they like your lipsticks and mine, I tend to take them home and put them on myself for the next day. In other words, my inventory was not accurate. And I had inventory in there that we no longer had. I was sold out and it wasn't going to be refilled for quite a while. So I actually had to pull over at the race, stop running, and update all my inventory right then and there. So I learned the importance of inventory management in that moment and knowing what I should have done and what can happen when you least expect it. The final thing, and I'm going to talk about what I have there. The final thing is to maintain a clean and organized booth. I told you, most of the places that I go to exhibit, we are not allowed to show our inventory anywhere. So boxes of inventory have to be tucked away somewhere. We're not allowed to eat in the booth or drink in the booth. We have to go somewhere for that. So I always build our little back room with our inventory. You also want to make sure if somebody comes along, all right, imagine you go into like Ross or some kind of clothing store and you're trying to get clothing and people have like thrown it all around. There's things hanging in the wrong place. I get overwhelmed and leave, right? I hate that. So you have to make sure that your customers aren't coming up and finding a mess in your place. Working with glitter, guess what? It's usually all over the place, but we want to make sure we keep a tidy booth. So this right here, again, I do this every single expo now. I do a list of everything I hope to sell. And what I do is this is to not have that happen again where I said, I want to make $20,000 at this expo. And then lo and behold, I only have 10,000 in products. So instead, I'll list every product we intend to sell, every color of every product we intend to sell. I'll put the price, how many I hope to sell, and this will give me then a total of how much inventory I'm bringing with me to the expo. What I'll also do, because once you get there to set up, sometimes it has to be fast. I'll say, okay, remember those kiosks that I have, the sales racks? I'll number them 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll say, this is well before the expo, I'll say, okay, where are all my bounce back products going? Okay, it's going to go on kiosk 1, kiosk 2, and I do 2A, B, C, D for the 4 sides to it. And then I'll even say, what do I need? Do I need to put it in a bin, a shelf, a peg? How is it displayed? So all of this happens well before I go to the expo. And that way, as you get there, it gets a little bit easier. And the more you do, the easier they are. So that's what I do here. And then after the fact, okay, the expo's over. Hopefully we made our sales data. That's the number one thing I'll look at. I actually will look at it hour by hour, day by day. And so the good thing about using a platform like Shopify is I can compare it to last year. So I'll pull up the exact same expo since I do them year after year. And I'll say on day 1, how much did I make for the whole day? That's my goal, at least, to surpass that on that day. And I will look at the hour by hour and how much I sold each hour to know if I'm trending properly. You can check it right there. To know if I'm trending properly for my sales goals. The other thing I'm going to review then is my layout. Okay, so I told you I plan ahead a lot with the layout of my booth. It works sometimes, it doesn't work sometimes. So this last one, I said, 10 by 10. I've never been in that small of an expo booth ever before. 10 by 10 was very small for me. And looking back at it, I'll never do it again because it was so small. My customers said they couldn't find me. The ones who were literally looking for me couldn't find me. So much less anybody that didn't know about my company yet. So when I review my performance, I'm going to review the layout of the booth. I'm also going to review all of my sales data. I also will listen to my customers. My customers were the ones who were telling me we couldn't find you. Or perception is everything. My customer's like, oh, they put you in such a small spot this time. But they didn't really realize is that you pay literally by the foot for these expos. And it's very expensive for some. I've been to expos where, it's $8,000 just to start selling. Okay, let that number sink in and think of your own products. If you started at an $8,000 deficit just by paying to get in the doors, much less buying inventory, much less doing anything else, buying tablecloths, paying staff, travel. Okay, I travel to Orlando for every one of these. That all costs money. So when the customers say, oh, they put you in such a small spot, they didn't realize I was going, save a few dollars, save a few thousand this time. But listen to them. So I said, okay, I won't do it anymore. I won't go in a small booth anymore. I need to go bigger. And then, of course, the final step is making any necessary adjustments. Those necessary adjustments can be, okay, I need to change the size, change the price of what I'm selling. Maybe you need a bigger size, so you have to increase your price. Or sometimes it's hard to do, but it could be saying my necessary adjustment is never doing this particular expo again, right? That 12-day one in Charlotte, I did it twice. It was good money, really hard to do. And now that I no longer live there, would be extremely hard because I'd have to rent a place, be away from the family, you name it, for that long. Sometimes the money is not coming in appropriately. Please don't think from the moment I started at Disney I was making profit, because I wasn't. It took about 4 years of loss before I started profiting at these things. It took me the time, very tearful because I really enjoy doing it, to say I can't do this anymore. And my business development manager said, let's try it one more time, just one more. And I did. And then unfortunately COVID hit and we had a reset, but when we came back, we have made a profit every single expo since. It's not wood there. So I want to make sure that continues to happen. But sometimes those necessary adjustments could be, this is not for me. My product is not good for an expo. My product is better suited to only give out information at an expo. So that's what you want to do when you're making your adjustments. So this was our most recent expo, just happened about a week ago. I felt it was fairly successful overall. And we have a great partner by working with Disney. They send this picture out. They come by with a photographer, do it every time, and they thank us. So that is the end of my presentation. I want to answer any questions you guys might have, though, especially about the imminent tomorrow's vendor fair, but anything in the future. So what questions might you have? Yes.
It's not about tomorrow, but I want to ask you, like, if I want to register my business to women's entrepreneurship, where can I do that and when?
So if you want to join us in here and we help you, good question. So for those of you who haven't been here yet, and actually I have some stuff I can show you. We do lessons all the time on how to build a business, your business plan. We have a makerspace next door that we can help you brand your business. We can help you get to the prototype stage. And as of right now, we are on Startup Tree. That is going to be changing very soon. But if you join Startup Tree to hear about all the different events that we have, we'll make sure you get transferred over to the new system. For Startup Tree, I believe out in the hallway, we still have some of the QR codes that you can join and find out about all the events that we do. So sometimes it's speakers that talk about their journey. Sometimes it's things like business plans. So if you do not currently have a business plan for your business, I highly, highly, highly recommend you do it with us, okay? And I'm going to show you why, because it's so easy. Now, we're just about to end a business plan cycle, but starting next semester, come back in the spring, we're going to have the whole series from start to finish. And by the end, you can have a really good business plan. So we work with Live Plan for your business plans. We pay the licensing fees. You pay nothing. And then I know you guys are in business together. You could actually set it up where you both collaborate together. So that would work out really well on these. We go through everything from start to finish in our business plans. And I'm going to show you how easy it is to do. So we'll go through sections by sections. And hopefully my cut and paste from before will paste. Maybe it won't. Are you able to, I don't know if I can control V from where I am.
Yeah, control. Control.
Thank you. Okay. So for example, I said, okay, here is some of the items I want to do. Actually, I'm sorry. Let me do it one more time. I'm going to close this out and start it again. Never mind. Okay. I put in just a couple of facts so far about the market that I'm in. So I'm in a runner's market, like runcations. So like the occasional runner, not the, Usain Bolts and all that of the world. I found a couple of facts on my industry, such as an increase in race participation and things like that. I'm going to let this rewrite for me, and let's just go ahead and expand it for now. Yes, we have Chat GPT AI embedded in the live plan, but it's tailored to help you write a business plan. So with all of this, I'm just going to accept it, put it into my business plan. I now have a section of my business plan written. Now, obviously, I would go back and review this normally and make sure everything is accurate in what I want it to say. But it is really easy down the line to say, okay, let's go ahead and download the PDF of this. And if I scroll up, you can see all the business plan I've been doing just through demonstrations in the classroom. Currently, my business plan is up to, goodness gracious, 33 pages. And it probably took me about 5 hours worth of work. So if you don't have a business plan yet, I highly recommend come in here. Let us help you develop your business plan. That's what you're going to need if you ever go for loans, if you're looking for investors, if you're looking to expand and somebody wants to see your business plan. If you get to a pitch competition, this is what you're going to need. Okay? So that was a good question. Join Startup Tree for all of our events to see what's coming up. But by all means, let us help you grow the business. Okay? What other questions might you have? Oh, thank you. Okay. So Eliza brought the code in for us before you leave if you want to scan that. Right there.
To register for the entrepreneurship, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. For all of the events that we have here. And I know we have quite a few people who attend every event. So you'll get emails from us saying there's events. You can look at the calendar all the time and have that.
So do you guys have that set up for
Tomorrow, I think you're doing it. So we're not a part of the pop-up tomorrow except for prepping y'all now. I saw that there's going to be tables inside and outside, if I'm not mistaken. And that's as far as I know. I'm thinking you need to be prepared to set it up 100%. Okay. So it could be, if you don't have a tablecloth, but you want to hide a not so pretty table, bring something, bring a sheet, bring whatever it is that sort of matches your brand. But for tomorrow, it's a little bit less formal, But no, we won't be there for setup of tables. I mean, we're going to try to fit in our schedule where we can come by and see all of you, but I don't know if we'll be there enough in advance to help us set up. So I always go in thinking I have to do everything. Every expo I go to, I'm expecting that I might have to do every single thing. Okay. What other questions may you have? Yeah.
So I got one more question.
Yeah.
I mean, two more questions. So the first one is like, if I want to get my LLC, you can help me with that one too, right?
So I can show you the resources of how to do it. It's in the state of Maryland. It's not very difficult to do.
Okay.
It does cost money.
Yeah.
I just incorporated another corporation here in Maryland, and I just got the articles within the last month.
Okay.
So I can show you how to get an LLC.
Okay. Right. And the last question was like, last year I made some design for UMS, and I sent it to the school, and they like it, but they told me the only thing I gotta get my license for the school, so I can sell the UMS merch. Like
Your licensing the merchandise. I got you. So you already have the process started with that?
Oh yeah, I already finished all the design.
Okay.
Just I want to know where can I get the license, and I'll do it.
I'll connect you. I've been trying to as well.
Oh, okay.
So I'll connect you with the people who have our license right now.
Thank you.
Any other questions about either tomorrow or just in general with your businesses? All right, so I see the food has just arrived. Dr. Payton's office was nice enough to send us some pizzas and drink, which I think we have a couple of cups possibly in the office, I'm hoping. Otherwise, we pass the bottle. And but I thank you for your time and your participation. I wish you the best of luck tomorrow. I will try to come by and see everybody's tables set. But thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone, and enjoy some of the food.